All right, this is probably a whole new style of fly. I'm not if you've ever heard of this style of tying is called hackle stacking. So we're going to tie something. This is going to be a hackle stacker flag, or you could also it's also called, if you tie it on a scud hook. We're not doing it, but if you tie it on a scud hook, it's called a film critic, which is it's a Bob Quigley fly. It's kind of started on spring creeks and slow moving waters, lakes, things like that. But it's equally at home, choppy water, places like this, especially once we add what's called the flag. So this starts off similar to most flies. We'll start here, kind of paint the shank of the hook with thread as we work our way back. And then, just like that other March Brown we tied, we'll put in a little shuck. This is sparkly yarn. This can be Zelon. This can be UV2 dubbing, whatever you want. Secure that. Take it off the back. And again, however long you want that is up to you. It can be long. It can be short. Again, this is imitating an emerging mayfly, so having it about the same length of the hook shank from where the bend starts to the eye is a good starting point. Now, unlike the other one, we can start dubbing immediately. We'll want to keep this fairly slim. This is a size 14, so we'll add some dubbing. When you get down to tying this in like 20s and 18s, just a thread body is completely fine. Don't be shy about just using thread. That's a very strong body material actually, and it keeps a nice smooth slim body. This is a great fly for fooling picky fish because you keep it slim. So just a slim little noodle of dubbing. Start it all the way in the back here.
Did we start with the ultra-fine dubbing again?
Yep, this is super fine brown, and again a nice slim little noodle, and we'll just kind of build a nice tapered body towards the front. But we'll want to leave, if you can kind of see here, we'll want to leave a pretty good gap here because we're going to end up making a big bulbous ball here, and we're going to pull our hackle over the top. So I got a little extra dubbing here. I'll just kind of build the taper.
Yep.
Back up here towards the top. So now, let's see. This is some cream sparkle yarn. Again, it can be Zelon, it can be whatever. I like to use McFly quite a bit. I really like the UV2 dubbing. If you've never used the UV2 dubbing in the same cream color, it's awesome. We're going to grab a hank that we're going to end up doubling this, so kind of get a feeling for what it looks like when it's doubled over, because that's going to be the finished product. I like to keep it about like this, and this is kind of our whole key, our secret, if you will, to tying these hackle stackers, especially the flags, is, and really you can take this into when you're tying normal parachute posts, for like a parachute Adams or a purple haze, anything like that, is that we're going to tie this in so we have this loop. And we're going to be able to use our fingers in this loop to kind of control when we're wrapping the hackle. So take this loop, and we'll want the loop pointing forward here. Lash it in so we kind of have some butts sticking out towards the back, just like that. What you can do now, just get in there, trim those nice and short. You can trim them completely, you can trim them nice and short. Sometimes it's fun to just push them out to the side so it looks like the emerging wing buds of the mayfly. And then, this is kind of the secret here, and this is what's so nice about this loop. We can just control the sucker, we'll fold it right back over itself, and we're just building kind of a ramp to elevate our hackle. So right back to where that dubbing stopped, and this little wing pad is sticking out. Next, we'll take, this is grizzly hackle. You can use brown for a March Brown. You can use dun. A lot of times I like to, because this is kind of a thicker post, you know, you can use this, maybe this might be a 16, I think is what it is. 14's fine. If it's a little big, no big deal. But we'll take our hackle and tie that in just like we were going to do if we were going to tie a parachute post, except you'll notice I'm not wrapping anywhere up that posted yarn. This is just strictly just tied right next to it. Now, where you can carry this into when you're tying just a normal parachute post is that you've got a nice little platform here to wrap your hackle around. Now, it's really easy. Just keep that tight, and you're going to want to put, you know, quite a bit of. And to be honest with you, parachutes are a pain because you're always going to be out of the way. But if you got your finger to just hold this up, look how tight that is. That is very stable. So we're going to hackle this.
Are you wrapping one above the other?
One above the other, and then we're going to work our way back down. So we want this to be pretty hackled up.
So you're wrapping over the hackles as you go
Yep,
back
and
down.
I'm going to wind my way through there. I'm going to try and not trap hackle, so you can see I'm kind of weaving it through there, and it's pretty hackled up. You can see there's quite a bit on there, and that's because this is really going to, again, this is going to kind of flare out. We get down to the bottom and fold all this stuff out of the way, and then go ahead and tie our hackle off.
Are you in front or in back?
I'm in front here.
Okay.
So I'm in front. I can almost let it get out of there. I almost let it slip out of there on me. That's a good thing about scissors. We've got
It's a good thing you didn't bring the sharp ones. Yeah.
just kind of trim these excess out here. We're going to finish the fly up there. So you can see we've got it's a fairly loose post. We can move it around quite a bit. It's pretty pliable. We're going to move our thread all the way back to where we started, where those wing butts are, and where we stopped the dubbing. You can continue on and use the superfine, and you're going to want to build basically a ball. You want this to be pretty bulbous because we want to, again, elevate this hackle. And what we're going to end up doing is taking our loop and pulling that over the ball, and then we're going to post this straight back up again. So you can use the superfine. I think it's kind of fun to use like a hare's ear because it's real spiky. And when these mayflies are starting to emerge, their legs are going crazy. They're really trying to break out of this nymphal shuck. And these little spikes, like on a hare's ear, kind of look like legs. So I'm going to use some hare's ear. And this is just a more bulky material anyway, so it's kind of fun to use for this, to make this big bulbous body, or this bulbous thorax. And you know, also when insects are emerging, kind of that point they're emerging out of, they all kind of come out of their wing back, their wing case. They get nice and bulbous and fat there because there's all sorts of gases that are helping them do that. So again, we're gonna leave a little bit of space on the front of the eye here. It looks like I'm kind of cheating myself here, but remember what we're gonna do is fold all that stuff over. So we've got a nice bulbous little wing case. And it's an alternating color. It's a little bit lighter. Now, this is what really makes it the hackle stacker, is that we're going to pull this over. But we're not just going to pull it over because we don't want to trap all these hackles. We really want to sweep these out of the way. Sweep them out of the way real good. And then we've got a little, we'll just trap it right there. And really what we kind of want to do is kind of crowd the eye here. Another fun part about this loop, and this is what, again, makes these hackle stackers so great, is that we can really pull this hackle forward. Get it nice and flush so it's sticking up towards the front of this fly. And we kind of crowded the eye there because we're going to, again, wrap this back over itself. And we've got a nice little ramp to stand this post up. Then, just an easy whip finish. I need to resharpen that. So now we've got this post that just sticks straight up here. And this is going to be kind of easy for us to see. This grizzly hackle will be kind of tough for us to see. This white post really makes it easy. Stand it up here, leave it nice and tall. We're going to be able to see that for a mile, and we've got ourselves a March Brown hackle stacker. Now that I'm looking at it, I kind of like just leave the darker dubbing in there, but you guys have a darker hare's ear than I do for your packet. And that is a Hackle Stacker flag. I kind of like this tail to be just a little bit shorter too. Hackle Stacker flag. And the difference between this and, say, like a normal parachute post, when you think about a parachute post, you wrap around the post like that. Your profile in the water is very flat. You're wrapping the hackle and it's completely flat. What this is, when you pull it over the top like that, it gives it almost like a cupped look. So it's going to sit a little bit lower, and those imprints on the water are just a little more. It's different. It's not so flat. It just sits down a little bit and holds it there like that. So instead of that flat, it's more cupped. And on picky fish, any fish around a boat ramp that's seen every fly in the book probably hasn't seen one of these hackle stackers. And it's just something a little bit different. It has that profile that sits down a little further. Probably my favorite dry fly.
And can you do white, or should you do
You can do white.
Okay.
You know, a lot of times March Browns, especially in Baetis, and I tie this in a Baetis or a blue wing olive, they hatch in real cloudy conditions. I'll actually use like a light dun or a darker dun colored wing, and I'll use a black post. Because in that
Okay.
glare,
Sure.
you're able to see that black post. But if you're not fishing in glare, that white dun will really show up in your darker colored water. But you know, for this demonstration, I used a white just because it's kind of a high vis. You can use orange, you can use neon green if you want. I don't know if the fish can necessarily see it. This post is more or less just for us.
Yeah.
This is, you know, if that other fly, the sparkle dun, is going to be harder for you to see. This is more of a geezer pleaser, and that it's going to be easier for you to see, especially once you get some frog's fanny on there, and some aquil or whatever you use. So
You called this imitates an emerging mayfly, which is it comes
Yep.
up from the floor or the
Yep.
river, and it's
Yep.
shuck and it's shuck.
It's
and
stuck
gonna
and it's
fly
shuck.
away. Is the first one we tied also?
also an emerging pattern,
They
but
kind of look like live mayflies too, though.
they do.
So-
You know, and if you really do that shuck sparse, it'll probably err more towards the side of an adult,
Oh.
and if you do it a little bit heavier, it'll probably err more towards the size, the emerging side. The nice thing is, if you put quite a bit in there, you can always trim it out of there. Don't be afraid to just trim it out of there if you don't like it, or if you feel confident in something that's a little more sparse towards the back. This is a really fun one. The possibilities are endless to this. Like I said, if you tie this on a scud hook that's curved, this whole second half of the body is going to be sitting below the surface film. All you're going to be able to see is this bright post and this hackle tips, and it's like you just get these zombie rises out of fish that they can't help but try and eat it. So have fun with this. Again, this is a hackle stacker.
He says.
Yeah. Works great if you guys like purple haze. The purple haze, this is a great way to tie purple haze also. I'll tie another one, and then I'll bring it around as a example.
You got that?
No. I was counting on you. You were listening, right?